Welcome to the Voices for Voices podcast, sponsored by Redwood Living. Thank you for joining us today. I am Justin Allen Hayes, founder and executive director of Voices for Voices, host and humanitarian. You can learn more about Voices for Voices on our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube channel at Voices for Voices, and also on our website, voicesforvoices.org. Voices for Voices is a 501c3 nonprofit charity organization that survives solely on donations. So if you are able to, please consider heading over to voicesforvoices.org to help us continue our mission and the goal and dream to help 3 billion people over the course of my lifetime and beyond. Or you can also send a donation to the mailing address of Voices for Voices at 2388 Beckett Circle, Stowe, Ohio, 44224. Or we're also on the Cash App at Voices for Voices. Are you or somebody you know looking for a volunteer opportunity? If so, you can reach out to us today via email at president@voicesforvoices.org. Now, I founded Voices for Voices to provide a platform for folks to share their stories as we work to break the stigma around mental health, accessibility, and disabilities, while also helping people get the help they need and helping them prepare and or transition into the workforce with the Voices for Voices Career Center, where we connect talent with opportunity for both job seekers and employers alike, from coast to coast and in every industry and job level. And who can forget about merchandise? The Voices for Voices merch shop is finally up and running at voicesforvoices.org/shop, where shipping is always free. And again, all donations are 100% tax deductible. Today's guest joining us in studio is a world traveler, national level competitive bodybuilder, NASM certified personal trainer, marathon finisher, mountain climber, Ironman, trial athlete, and martial artist. And he's also the owner of James Anderson Ambition Personal Training Services, where his philosophy is nutrition, exercise, mindset, philosophy. Nutrition, exercise, and mindset philosophy. So covering those three areas. So today, please join me in welcoming to the show Mr. James Anderson.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming in. You have quite a remarkable story. Looking at your website, one of the first things that jumps out is the terms or the phrase from iron bars to Iron Man. And I know that's a loaded question and it takes a little bit of explaining to do. But maybe we can walk through the audience of where that began, the maybe more difficult times of life, and then we can work into where you're at today, what's coming up, and where people can get a hold of you.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was 15, I started drinking alcohol and using marijuana, and I would say probably by 16 I was doing prescription pills, Percocets and Oxycontin, and things kind of spiraled from there. As I would say probably around 17 is when I knew I had a problem with substance abuse. And we actually, my parents had me do an outpatient treatment program, and I was clean, and I was introduced to 12-step meetings pretty young, 17. And I was actually going to meetings regularly and like working a recovery program while I was still in high school. And then when I graduated high school, I decided I'm too young to be an addict. I'm just gonna go party and live my life, and worst case scenario, if things progress, I know where to go. and it took, like 8 years to make it back. So as as things progressed, alcohol and partying after I turned 18 quickly turned into substances, much harder, heroin, crack, things like that. And a lot of criminal charges associated with drug abuse. I was on probation for over 6 years, in and out, because I kept violating with new charges, and in and out of jail. Altogether, I did 2.5 years incarcerated, a year and a half in prison, and you would think that would be it, right? You would think, oh, he probably learned his lesson, but I didn't. I got out of prison in 2011. I was using again, within a month. And then it was actually 9 months later that I actually got clean on October 14th, 2013.
So it's quite a journey in and out of the criminal justice system. And so what would you say was that point or series of points where you decided, okay, now's the time to start working towards getting clean? You had when you were younger, but when you started to get serious about it, what was there a point that you can remember, or an experience?
Yeah. So I had been using against my will for years. I know I did not want to be living the way that I was living. I did not want to be essentially a slave to the substances, but I couldn't stop. And every time I started, I couldn't stop. And so actually being in prison for 18 months, that was the longest I'd ever gone without using.
Okay.
And since I started when I was like 15. So what happened was while I was in there, I was able to get healthy, and I had these weird freedoms that I didn't have as a using addict, where I could kind of like make decisions about how I wanted to spend my day, and it wasn't all controlled by how do I get more drugs. And so when I got out and I started using again, quickly I was caught back up in that obsession and compulsion of the day-to-day, just trying to survive. And I would reflect back on the freedom that I felt that I had when I was incarcerated.
Okay.
And it just like clicked one day. It didn't make any sense, but I was actually waiting on a dealer to come give me what I was after, and it was probably 80 degrees, but I'm cold. I got cold sweats in a car, and I'm sitting there like, what is going on? Like, how did this happen again? And I felt like, for the first time, I felt like, my life was not meant to look the way that it looked in that moment, and that wasn't what was planned for me. At least I know it wasn't what my parents had planned for me. So I actually went to a treatment center, I went to a meeting that evening, and I basically told them, if I don't get clean, I'm going to die. And I asked for help for the first time ever. And people kind of pointed me in the right direction. I went to a treatment center, and that really, I just never looked back after that. Like, I wanted to be clean. Like, I didn't want to have to use anymore, and I just couldn't stop on my own.
So the role of family, how much did that play into the using years? Were they aware that you were using? At what level? And you had that on your mind too, of, okay, they know, or maybe they don't know. What role do you think that might have played?
So my family, I had a great family, a great life. There was none of the, typical reasons why you would think someone would be using. I just had terrible self-esteem, but my parents knew pretty early on, and they were like on top of it. I mean, like at-home drug tests, and they had a breathalyzer machine. I mean, above and beyond. Like they were really trying to help me. And when I graduated and I was 18, and basically they gave me a choice, like get it together or get out. So I left. And really I never went back. So it was very hard on my parents because they were constantly worried about if I was even alive, basically. And, you know, that took its toll on them over the years. But they were always there for me. My mom was always there for me. And when I wanted to get clean, I actually had to call them and say, hey, listen, I'm a mess. I need your help. And I was 25, turning 26 in about 2 months. And so I was still able to get on my dad's health insurance. Okay. And so I asked him if he could add me to his health insurance so that I could get into this treatment center. And he did. And that was that.
Yeah. And that's big. I mean, getting back on the insurance, I remember car insurance where my parents at a certain point were like, you're affecting our score, our rates, so you need to get your own policy. And then I had taken 32 cold and cough pills, overdosed, was in the hospital, and going through that. I was 18 at the time. That was hard to see how my parents handled it. Went to counseling, and then was like, oh, I can handle this. Like I don't have a problem. I'm okay. I'm not suicidal. Like all these, you hear about all these tips of like, okay, somebody may be suicidal if this. Well, those are the obvious signs. There's other things that I guess I was exhibiting and had no idea. And so just from the family perspective of, you know, blowing off family get-togethers because it's like, okay, I want to go party. I need to go get the alcohol because I need to pregame and I need to do this and I got this plan and I can't go to a family reunion or a family function because I'm too preoccupied with getting what I wanted to get, whether that was the alcohol, the substances, girls, I mean, you name it. It took a toll. So bodybuilding, lifting, that obviously in the brighter side of life, did that play any role, even a minor role, growing up, or when you found yourself incarcerated, where you had some extra time? When did just maybe that thought enter your mind of like, okay, like I want to be healthy, I want to get strong, I want to have muscles, those types of things?
Yeah, definitely it was while I was in jail. So nothing else to do. Okay, well, I'm stuck here for 6 months, 8 months, whatever the situation was. I'm going to use this time to my advantage and do the best I can with it. So it started, I did an 8-month sentence in 2009, and it started there. Then I got out, I started using again. And then in 2011, when I did the 18-month prison sentence, I was like pretty big and strong when I got out, and I liked it, and I enjoyed that I could manipulate my body through my own, you know, actions, and it felt like there was this sense of control over it that I didn't feel that I had at the time. So it started there. Then I got out, started using again, and you know, disintegrated, and then. When I got clean, I knew that this was something that had really helped me get through the 18-month prison sentence. And I know that I knew that I felt good when I was doing it, and that it was a good confidence builder for me. So I started like immediately. Like there was a gym in the rehab center that I was hitting before I had even left. And so, you know, when I got out, the people I hung out with, the places I went, the things that I did, I couldn't do any of that anymore. And so I had a lot of free time to fill. And so the fitness aspect of things, it was like that one thing I knew that I could do every single day that would help me and make me feel better and fill up, you know, an hour at least. And so it became a pretty big part of my life early on, and then it just kind of like progressed over the years.
So you mentioned it felt good to when you started working out, lifting. Can you maybe contrast that when you were using the feeling? Was it that same feel good, or was it short-term effect of like, okay, once I get what I need, the effect, the positive effect, the high, whatever that might be, is gonna, how does that make you feel, I guess, versus maybe the lifting? And I know they're a little bit different, obviously, but just.
Well, yeah, so for the exercise, you know, now I've been doing it so long, like I feel great all the time, and I feel pretty good, but sometimes not so great when I'm lifting, depending on how hard the workout is. But with the using, I felt terrible all the time, and I only felt good when I was high.
Okay.
And as the longer I used, the shorter that high would last, and the quicker the dope sickness and things like that would come into play. So, you know, I was in this constant state of misery as a using addict, where I felt weak and powerless and shame and all these terrible feelings because I knew what I was doing wasn't good. I just couldn't stop doing it. And today, you know, I feel confident, I feel strong, I'm healthy, I feel capable. They're really, I guess, kind of exact opposites in the sense of like the general state of being as an addict, opposed to being, you know, the healthy, fit, recovering addict that I am today.
Yeah. So it lasts long. The feel good lasts longer because you're able to see it, you're able to feel it inside versus that shorter aspect, a few minutes, an hour, whatever that might be. So when did, so obviously shifting gears for our audience, you had the iron bars and now the Iron Man and all the different things that can come with that, the different adventures. When did the adventures of, I believe you hiked to the top of, was it Kilimanjaro?
Kilimanjaro, yeah.
How did that come about and those experiences of like, okay, I want to do that?
Well, I always wanted to travel and see the world because I'm a curious person. And it was just never on the table in my head at the time, you know, as a using addict, like you're just trying to survive the next hour, so you're not really making vacation plans. And so when I got clean, you know, first it was like, okay, I gotta get my driver's license back, and I gotta get a car, and I gotta get a job, find a place to live, and you have all these like fires to put out pretty immediately while you're trying to just like get another day put together and essentially learn how to live all over again, because I had relied on substances basically my entire adult life to that point just to like survive. And so I'm like learning how to feel feelings and deal with paying bills, and do I put dryer sheets in before or after? Like, and so, you know, all that's happening, and one day I realized like, okay, I have some money saved, and I was already working for myself. So I was like, well, why can't I go see the Colosseum in Italy, right? Like, so I got online and I was like, oh, okay. So booked a trip for me and my girlfriend at the time, now wife. And that started it. And we got, you know, I want to see everything. So we travel every 6 months, every 3 to 6 months to a different country or whatever. And in the process of all that, I started I was doing a Spartan race one year, and the race itself happened to be on my clean date anniversary.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, well, that's kind of cool, you know? So I went and did the race, and I was like, well, I should do something like this every year. And so the following year was Mount Kilimanjaro, round 1. So I went from a Spartan race to Mount Kilimanjaro. I'm a bit ambitious. But so we did that. It didn't work out super great the first time. And then I think the following year we went to Norway, and I hiked Trolltunga in Norway, and then COVID happened. So I did a 50-mile race the following year, 8 hours of burpees the year after that, and then this past year was Kilimanjaro again, successfully this time, and this coming October is a 100-mile foot race.
Wow. So what is that like, the hike itself? I know there's a ton of planning probably goes into it, just to travel, and then the actual, once you're there, how do you do it? What's the process?
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. Leading up to it, like you said, you have the travel arrangements and all that. But the guides that we used, who I'm now working with, are really, really great at like handling a lot of that stuff for you. So basically, you have a packing list of equipment and things that you need to get. You show up, you land. They pick you up at the airport. You don't have to do anything. They take care of all of it. Hotels, all that stuff, it's all included, and then they just drop you back off when you're done. So you're kind of just like going through the motions, like as they guide you through the whole process. And I mean, basically you land, you stay in a hotel, they pick you up in the morning, you have breakfast, you go get into the park, there's like permits and things that you got to go through, and then you start, and that first day, I mean, if you're not in shape, you're gonna know the first day, because it's not like, if you're well trained, it's not terrible, but you feel it, you know, and then it's 6 days up to the summit, and then 1 day down, 1.5 days down, because the 6th day, basically you leave at midnight on the 6th day to summit. Then you come back down to another camp, and then the last day is you finish hiking out. But, you know, it's 7 days in a tent on the mountain, no showers, you're taking, you know, wet wipe showers, and at the mercy of whatever they're feeding you on the mountain. So by the time you're done, you're happy, you're very fatigued, and you're ready for a hot shower.
Oh, wow. So how many feet? How tall is it?
It's 19,341 feet.
Wow. Yeah, congratulations on doing that.
Thank you.
Just seeing, and I've seen some documentaries about hikes and people going through the process, and that's, I mean, awesome. I know that's kind of like secondhand to you. That's just what you do. You train, you're in shape, and it's just another adventure for you. So that's, I mean, gotta feel good. So does it feel good when you're at the top, when you finally make it?
Yeah,
Good.
absolutely. It felt great. I mean, this one was extra special because, like I said, in 2018 was when we first attempted to climb it, and I got hypoxic on the mountain, like 5 hours from the summit. We were on that final push to the summit, and the medical staff was like, no, we got to turn around. And that, you know, the thought of that even happening had never even crossed my mind. Like in my head, like I was, you know, I was going to crush this like everything else that I had tried to do. And so it was quite humbling, and I didn't have the right medication, you know. So there's a medication that helps you adapt to the low oxygen levels. It helps your body produce more red blood cells, and we didn't have it. And so this time I made sure I had it, and everything went much more smoothly. So it felt extra special at the top this time because it was years in the making.
Yeah. So taking adventures, exercise, your philosophy now, helping other people, you're not just doing things yourself, but you're helping through training. how does that make you feel? And obviously, it's something that you like to do and you want to continue to do. Is it fulfilling now looking back and say, wow, I've come so far, and instead of just worrying about myself, which we all do to get through the days, but now you're helping others get to that point or somewhere close, different than where they're at. So maybe walk through that kind of mentoring process you go through with your training, your personal training.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. So it's a lot of it's the mindset, a lot of it's the psychology behind it. The day-to-day of like what you eat and what exercises to do and stuff like that, that part is much easier for me. That part's the simple part, right? It's getting in clients' heads, and sometimes it's just getting people to believe in themselves, getting them to believe something's possible. They've tried to lose, this amount of weight for this many years, and they're pretty defeated at that point because they just think that something's wrong with them. It's just not going to work for them. But it's problem solving, and it's getting them to not only believe it's possible, but to do the things that are required to make it possible. And so I love it. It's like a Rubik's Cube for me. It's every person is a new problem to solve, and in that process, I get to help them not only achieve whatever their fitness goals may be, but like change the way they view the world, so that they approach everything in their lives differently and really become like the greatest versions of themselves, or continue that pursuit as I continue that pursuit by myself. So I mean, it's kind of cool because I'm constantly trying to improve and grow, and I get to like help all these people along and kind of like get their fire started as I do it. And it's amazing watching people transform. And I mean, I've had people like completely shift their entire lives, and it's not just them that benefits, but their families. If you're a father, your kids benefit because you're going to be there when they're older, because your health is together, things like that. So
Yeah, I mean, it's a complete 180. Like you said, it's from the iron bars to Ironman. You're taking your ventures, you're exercising, and you're not only helping yourself and your family, but you're helping others. How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I have my website is jamesandersonambition.com. I have my Instagram, Anderson_ambition. YouTube is Anderson Ambition. And my Facebook business page, I believe, is James Anderson Ambition. And so any of those ways, all the information's on there. I have like the whole process of me, kind of deciding to do the Ironman and the Kilimanjaro climb, and then, doing the Ironman and then doing the climb. The whole documentary is on my YouTube channel, Anderson Ambition, and it's pretty cool. At the time I just felt like this feels like a moment. This should be documented.
Sure.
Like this is kind of a big deal for me at the time, and so it felt like a story worth telling, and so I told it.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you're where you're at. You're able to tell your story. You're able to share it with others, and that your life is more fulfilled on the positive side. So I want to thank you for being on the podcast and sharing that. I know there's going to be many people in the audience to benefit from what we talked about. Your story. It's nothing short of remarkable. Kind of where you've been to where you are now, and I think it is motivating to hear, like, okay, somebody has been at the bottom, and there's work that needs to get put in, but you put the work in. Maybe they don't hike Kilimanjaro, but they get healthy for their family, and they increase their longevity, and all those things are very, very awesome to be part of. So thank you for joining.
Thank you
today.
for
And
having me.
yeah, wish you best of luck, and congratulations on all your accomplishments that you've done.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And we want to thank you also for joining us today on this episode of the Voices for Voices podcast. And a special thank you to our guest, James Anderson, for spending some time with us today. Check him out, check his website, follow him, check out his documentary on YouTube. And until next time, I am Justin Allen Hayes, and have a great day and be a voice for you or somebody in need.